Services Committees, and he also serves as Deputy Whip of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Congressman Khanna, thanks for being with us. And can you help us understand? Can you help us understand, especially for our viewers, those Democrats, those Biden supporters who really, at the end of the day, don't understand the infighting here? Help us understand what you and other progressives are for, what you're against in these proposals, the both of them, and what progressives are hoping to achieve by potentially withholding votes on this physical infrastructure bill.
Well, I don't understand the infighting either. This is not the Bernie Sanders agenda or the Elizabeth Warren agenda. This is the Joe Biden agenda. Progressives are just saying, let's get behind what the president has proposed. In fact, we've already compromised with the centrists. This is actually not even as progressive as what the president proposed. And the overwhelming members of the House, over 210 House Democrats support Joe Biden, 48 senators support Joe Biden. So why are a few holdouts really holding up the president's agenda?
Speaker Pelosi said yesterday, as you well know, I'm sure, she said on one of the Sunday shows, I never bring a bill to the floor that doesn't have the votes. Do you think there'll be a vote this week?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think here's what needs to happen. There needs to be a proposal, a counter proposal for those who are not for the president's $3.5 trillion. They have to come up with a number. They have to tell us what is it that they want in there, what is it that they don't want in there, and there has to be a negotiation. As soon as we have an agreement on that framework, we will pass it. But I can't predict when they're going to give us a number. We've been asking for it last week. The president pressed them to give us a number, and there's still no number.
When you talk about the president pressing for a number, is it your estimation, is it your assessment that he has been involved in this process as he needs to be? Do you need to see more from him? Do you want to see more from him in this process?
I think he's bent over backwards. He's put out a proposal that was a reasonable proposal. He's meeting with members of the Senate and House members, but at some point people have to say he was the president who was elected. He had the support of the majority of this country. He's the leader of our party. Is it too much to expect to get behind his proposal? I mean, I'm not out there saying we need free public college right now and Medicare for all right now. Bernie Sanders, whose campaign I chaired, he lost. Joe Biden won. I'm saying let's just follow our own president. And he's done what he needs to. The White House, Ron Klain has been fantastic. Steve Ricchetti has been fantastic. I think the Democrats owe this president more respect. They ought to get behind his agenda.
So given all that, then why are progressives then potentially withholding their votes on Thursday's big vote on the physical infrastructure bill? If you were saying that the president has done a good job, that Ron Klain and Ricchetti have all done what they need to do to get this thing across the line?
Well, because what they're saying is we have to have both components. The bipartisan infrastructure plan, as the president recognizes, has no climate provision. So you can't say we're going to invest in the old economy, more roads, more bridges, more CO2 emission, and not have a clean energy standard. You can't say that we're going to cut funding, as the bipartisan infrastructure bill does, for electric buses and not have any plan for electric vehicles. So it has always been part of this president's vision, who cares about climate, that we would have the bipartisan infrastructure bill, but it would also have the reconciliation with the climate provisions. That has always been the plan, and we ought to get behind that plan.
Months ago, before this was even an issue as it is in the current moment, the president, at the end of some event in the Rose Garden during a Q&A, he was asked about infrastructure, and he said, do you think at the end of the day a Democrat is going to vote against these important proposals? I don't think so. He was essentially calling everybody's bluff months ahead of time. You think he was right about that?
Well, he was operating under the assumption that there would be a reconciliation bill that he had proposed. And he didn't expect that you wouldn't have an agreement on reconciliation. Back then, we had that agreement. It was already negotiated. I mean, Bernie Sanders, as you remember, started out at $6 trillion. He came down to $3.5 trillion. I think the president legitimately thought there was an agreement.
All right, Khanna, appreciate your time. We'll have to have you back at the end of the week to see how things turn out.